I've got a podcast to record. The late Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart said, "Censorship reflects a society's lack of confidence in itself." If you support what we're doing here at the Conservative American Message, you can show us your support by giving us a 5-star rating and by following or subscribing wherever you listen. To stay up to date on everything we're doing, please follow us on social media at the Conservative American Message on Instagram and Facebook. California is on fire right now. Due to the dry conditions and heavy winds that they've been experiencing recently, the wildfire has rapidly spread into parts of Los Angeles. There's no real way to accurately track the damage as it's still continuing to rage on. But one report that I saw claimed over 10,000 structures have been completely burnt to the ground. Many celebrities in Beverly Hills and other areas have lost their homes. Loads of A-listers' mansions have been completely destroyed, including Paris Hilton, Jeff Bridges, Mandy Moore, even Mel Gibson. And it's not just the rich and famous either. Reports are putting the losses at hundreds of thousands of people unable to return to their homes. Dozens of people have died at the time I'm recording this. It's a really bad situation. Of course, everything in this world is political. And unfortunately, most tragedies don't just happen by random chance. There's often someone directly at fault. In this scenario, that person is California Governor Gavin Newsom, who deserves much blame. He recently cut state funding by over $100 million that would go towards fighting wildfires. Also, due to state regulations, a 1-million-gallon water reservoir outside of LA was emptied so that they could bring it into compliance. Without this extra water, fire hydrants in the city ran dry and fire crews were left with no means of extinguishing the fire. So does the governor admit to his mismanagement of the situation and apologize to his citizens? Please. No, he did what any good old Democrat would do. He tried to make this about Donald Trump. I'm sorry, somehow I don't see the connection. And, oh boy, of course, this would never have happened without climate change. Oh yes, don't forget about that. I know this is a devastating event, but I just can't help drawing a biblical connection here. It seems that a long time ago, there was this wicked place filled with sexually deviant and sinful people, and how exactly did God respond to that? Well, he burned it to the ground. Los Angeles may just be a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, I'm not going to try to actually speculate as to what God's intentions are in any event. I don't think that's a very wise path to be going down. But you do have to find a little irony there, don't you? Speaking of irony, founder of Facebook Mark Zuckerberg has opened up publicly about censorship on his social media apps. He released a video describing the new direction the company is going to be taking, getting rid of fact checkers, replacing them with community notes just like X. They're going to stop censoring anything that isn't actually illegal, and they're moving the content moderation branch of Meta from California to Texas. I think these all sound like very good decisions, yet most people on the right are blasting Zuckerberg for being weak for allowing the censorship to take place in the beginning. Nobody seems to believe that he's really going to implement these changes anyway. Zuckerberg even went so far as to go on Joe Rogan and get into the weeds of what was really going on at Meta during all this time. Much like was revealed with the Twitter files, Zuckerberg claims that government officials essentially harassed Meta employees and threatened the company to force them to censor certain posts that they deemed to be misinformation. But as Zuck said, much of it was actually true. Posts about vaccine side effects, Hunter Biden's laptop, or pretty much any post that the Conservative American Message posts, would likely be censored by Facebook, apparently under the direction of the federal government. But Fox News and others are just pointing at Zuck and calling him weak for not standing up to the feds when they told him to censor content, rather than blaming the actual federal government. That's really easy for Fox News hosts to sit there and say, but Zuck himself is a businessman. What incentive does he have to get on bad terms with the federal government, and how does that make his company more profitable? When business and politics mix, companies are always going to follow the current political trends. The Biden administration pushed for censorship, so that's what we got. Now, the Trump movement has taken the country by storm. Obviously, Facebook and others are going to adjust. It's not some crazy conspiracy. It's just smart business. Meta is also following countless large corporations in the US that are paying attention to this massive culture shift by dropping their DEI initiatives and focusing on really driving the American company with their businesses. If you want to sit here and point at Zuck calling him a sellout or a phony or some whack job liberal, go right ahead. But his response to Trump's victory and the movement behind it is the correct response. It's a positive thing for this country. People can change, even if their change is for political purposes. They're still changing. So before you essentially write off every company who has ever done something you disagree with, let's step back and appreciate that he's trying to make things right. I personally enjoy Facebook. I spend far too much of my time on there, just ask my wife. And statistically, 95% of you listening right now use Facebook or Instagram on a daily basis. If we're all using it anyway, it might as well get better. But that's all I have time for. Were you offended by this podcast? Good. Thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate you all. Have a great week and stay conservative.